All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hello again, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar today, Beyond the Login, Building Customer Portals That Actually Reduce Support Load. I'm going to be presenting today alongside Jeff Honda, Senior Manager, Solution Delivery at Liferay. Today we want to show you what's elevating digital experiences for customers and how it can create value that impacts business operations, but also efficiencies. And we're going to do that by looking today at three real-world use cases. But as we move through today's session, we want to make sure that you take away as many insights as possible. But at the very least, here are just some headline takeaways that you can keep with you. The first being, organizations are beginning to shift their view of portals from just another business cost to a strategic asset. The second, understanding that modernization for your current environment and integrating with your current systems is achievable, and you don't have to carry out a full-blown rip and replace, which could end up being a lot more costly. You can also lower your support load and tickets raised by building intuitive self-service experiences for your customers. And by doing this, you're actually making your company more agile and empowering those end users. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive into this first scenario. The modern support crisis. So today, as we can all understand, customers are expecting answers instantaneously, regardless of the industry and the type of user. But these traditional support models, unfortunately, aren't cutting it anymore and have led to increased customer dissatisfaction. And that's driven primarily by these three obstacles. Data that is siloed throughout the entire organization. Customers hate repeating themselves. 6 in 10 customer service agents actually say that a lack of sufficient customer data or context often leads to a negative service experience. And when backend systems don't talk to each other, this actually frustrates both agents and customers alike. The second, when the user experience is completely disjointed, it leads to a rise in support calls and ticket volumes. And when we add more customers and we add in bad self-service experiences, that ends up resulting in additional customer service reps needing to be hired, which ultimately increases your cost. This is just not scalable. And finally, a lack of personalization. Customers expect personalized support, and 70% actually say that generic service frustrates them. Traditional support models, like we've discussed, treat everyone the same. So a modern support portal with role-based access and personalized dashboards lets customers see exactly what's relevant to their account and reducing the need to contact support at all. So this old way of thinking of let's just keep the lights on with a bare minimum portal is actually not providing the support you once thought it was, and it's actually adding to your workload. So let's take a look at our first use case, Broadcom, a global technology leader. Broadcom serves critical markets that span a wide variety: data centers, networking, software, broadband, storage, and industrial. And because Broadcom has so many different types of customers spanning these multiple industries, they need a customer self-service portal that would bring together product and account resources in one place. So when they were developing a plan to update their customer portal, they identified three critical needs. One, it needed to serve as a universal hub. They were looking for a cohesive experience across their customer base with one landing page that functioned the same to simplify access. Two, they needed to maintain high availability, and that was because many of their customers are in these critical and high pressure industries. And three, they wanted to give customers that personalized experience. The current portal showed the same generic view to all of their customers. And so Broadcom wanted customers to see the information related to their specific products. By moving to an updated portal, Broadcom actually saw a reduction in customer support tickets being raised and drastically reduced the number of overall clicks needed for customers to find those answers. But I want to take a look under the hood and actually see what was done to achieve those results. Jeff, I'll pass it over to you to go for that.
Thanks, AJ. And I think the Broadcom case study really demonstrates why I like to say pedigree matters when you're choosing a partner for your customer portal project. And what I mean by that is that really all of the vendors that are in this space are coming at things from a slightly different background. Some platforms were originally content management systems, so everything looks like a content problem. Others were ERPs or CRMs, and so they bring their own kind of perspective of the world. Liferay is really one of the only platforms that's approaching the customer portal from a true horizontal portal background. From the very beginning, over 25 years ago, Liferay was really bringing together disparate systems, patching all of these different backends together to provide authenticated experiences to users, surfacing the right information and the right functionality to the right audience. As AJ mentioned, one of Broadcom's challenges was that the sheer number of customers they had, spanning across a lot of different industries, representing various roles within projects. You had developers, project managers, various people that needed to access information. They needed a way to manage these complex user hierarchies to ensure that, both Broadcom employees as well as their partners and their customers only accessed the relevant information that they were authorized to see. Now, Liferay provides tools right out of the box to model these complex organizational structures, as well as robust security mechanisms such as role-based permissioning, just to make sure that the information was protected and that only authorized users were seeing it. But Broadcom wanted to go even further than that. They wanted to go beyond just protecting the information. They wanted to proactively deliver a tailored experience and information to those authenticated users. Now, with Liferay's personalization and segmentation capabilities, they could easily segment their audience based on static attributes such as the industry that they're in, the roles that they might have on a project, or the location. They could also use dynamic or behavioral attributes, such as their past interactions with the site. Maybe they show interest in particular topics, or maybe their purchase history. By providing the personalized experience, they were able to reduce the number of clicks by 2/3 to get users to the right information as quickly as possible, reducing support costs, increasing customer satisfaction. Now, another key concern for Broadcom was the ability to really manage an extensive library of technical documentation, product information, knowledge. To do this, they leveraged Liferay's native content management, or CMS. Broadcom had access to a very robust set of tools and allowed them to create, manage, and to publish structured web content, blogs, knowledge-based articles, documents across various channels. The only problem with that much information is that once you have a lot of information, you got to be able to make it easy for people to find it, be able to sift through the technical docs, the product information, all of that. You really need to have powerful enterprise search, and Liferay's out-of-the-box search capabilities were easily able to handle that, while at the same time being able to manage that complex security and permission structure that they put in place. All of Liferay's native search is always permissions aware, so it's not going to surface information that you're not authorized to see. And this really allowed them to reduce the number of support tickets that were being opened in the first place. Again, if people can find their answers without having to open a ticket, they're going to be happier. Your support costs are going to be lower. All in all, I think Liferay's native capabilities were really a perfect fit for the needs of this complex support-focused customer portal. And it allowed Broadcom to launch this very technically ambitious project in just 10 months. AJ, have you got another story to share?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So you might still be looking at this and say, okay, well, a customer portal to us is just a cost, and you're not viewing it, as I mentioned, as a strategic asset to your business. And the truth is, many organizations are still at this same crossroad. We want to encourage you to reframe that mindset and look at your experience not as an expenditure, but as an investment. The goal is to bridge the gap between your complex back-end systems and customer front ends. This will empower those non-technical users by adopting technology capable of bridging the gap, making organizations more flexible and agile. And the result is going to be increased customer retention and higher operational efficiency. So let's take Embasa, for example. Embasa is a sanitation company that supplies water and sewage services to over 360 municipalities in Brazil. And despite being a critical public utility serving hundreds of communities, Embasa's digital infrastructure had not kept pace with the scale of their operations. Their existing self-service portal was falling short. 50% of the requests that they initiated in their customer self-service portal were being abandoned because the process wasn't seamless. And on top of that, both the institutional website and the portal depended 100% on IT to update the content, which could take up to a week and led to Embasa actually spending $20,000 a month to outsource service calls. The company realized they needed to digitize a range of physical and manual processes and empower these non-technical users, as we talked about. Specifically, they wanted to give business teams, not just IT, the power to manage content independently, and they wanted to eliminate the bottlenecks that were causing customers to abandon these service requests. So within 2 months of launching an updated self-service portal, over 330,000 customers had registered, and monthly service processing surged by 750%. Not only that, they were automating these previously manual call handling that saved them that $20,000 per month in outsourced service costs. In addition, the new portal integrated 50 existing services and introduced additional digital services that had not existed before. While content updates that we talked about previously took up to a week to complete by IT, were now being done by their communication teams in minutes. So let's take a look at what actually went into this specific digital transformation.
Yeah, and I think the Embasa case study really shows what's possible when integration is really at the core of that customer portal. It really allows you to meet your end users where they are. Now, in Brazil, mobile dominates heavily. Around 99% of Brazilian internet users access the web via mobile phone, while only about 42% use a computer. Embasa knew that their solution would really need to be 100% responsive to serve their user base on whatever device they were using to access. They also needed to support accessibility. That was an important feature for them. They wanted to make sure that all users would be able to have access to their resources. And so they were able to leverage features such as the vLibras project, which is an open source accessibility tool developed by the Brazilian government. It translates Portuguese content into Brazilian Sign Language. So by being able to integrate with that project, they really could make the portal accessible for everybody. Now, another key to the success, as AJ mentioned, was that integration of all of the key systems, with Liferay acting as the orchestration layer, integrating with multiple legacy backend systems. To achieve this level of integration, the team leveraged Liferay's very robust development tools and frameworks to create more than 35 custom APIs to ensure that data was flowing real time from all of those legacy systems. Now, by achieving that level of integration with all of those legacy systems, they were able to supercharge that self-service capability and really transform all of those 50 services that AJ was talking about into a digital format, allowing users to handle all of those requests, billing, history, consumption monitoring, payments, without any kind of physical intervention at all. And as we've heard, this self-service capabilities allowed them to sign up 330,000 registered users in just 2 months, leading to that increase of over 750% in process requests. Now, when you're dealing with that many transactions and that much sensitive information, such as personal data, payment data, compliance and security really becomes one of your top concerns. However, Liferay's built-in tools provided the Embasa team with the features that they needed to be fully in compliance with the Brazilian General Data Protection Law, or the LGPD. So again, I think a really good example of how you can achieve self-service, even if you have a lot of different back-end systems, by effectively managing the integration.
Thanks, Jeff. So now some of you might have seen this crossroads and you've already moved past it, and this might make another internal debate emerge for you all, which is this something that we could build ourselves? And in some scenarios, this might be the best path forward, but it'll come with its own unique set of challenges. It's a long-term commitment. Development timelines typically run 1 to 3 years, with high upfront costs tied to infrastructure, integrations, and security. And cost overruns are well documented with these IT projects. 1 in 6 actually have an average overrun cost of 200%. Then there's the talent dependency risk, which a lot of teams don't factor in. These in-house solutions that you might build are always reliant on the developers who built them. And when and if those developers leave, it can be difficult to hire new developers who can work within the existing code base. And in some cases, you'll need to have to do a whole rebuild again. So instead of a homegrown solution, modernization provides an alternate path that might make more sense. By modernizing a customer portal, you're not necessarily replacing all of the systems. Through APIs, you're creating a holistic, decoupled architecture that leverages both the new technology and the existing systems. So the customer will see a clean, seamless experience, and the backend complexity stays exactly where it is behind the scenes. So you get the best of both worlds without having the cost or without having the risks of starting over. And a perfect use case for this is Spire, an energy company that serves over 1.5 million customers across 3 different states. And with a customer base that spreads across multiple states and delivering a consistent modern digital experience, this was essential to the company's ability to serve people at scale. But their digital infrastructure had grown really complicated over time. The company was operating 2 separate online account management websites, and they needed to replace them with a single platform solution. In fact, the complexity actually ran so deep on the back end as well. They needed to homogenize 2 ERP systems, 2 payment processing systems, and 2 mobile workforce systems, all while ensuring customers could still access their accounts without disruption. So on top of that, customers needed real-time account updates, billing information, and energy and usage data, something that the fragmented legacy setup simply just couldn't support reliably. So Liferay was able to come in and replace these 2 legacy sites with a unified customer portal. On the integration side, direct integrations with SAP and Oracle customer care and billing provided customers with real-time information directly from the core customer information systems. And then for customers, the portal delivered practical self-service tools, including the gas usage charts, online bill payment, and more. And for internal teams, it featured user management for individual accounts, internal customer service agent single sign-on, custom permissioning, and authorization capabilities. Jeff, can you kind of walk us through the work that went into modernizing Spire's offering?
Yeah, AJ, I think one of the biggest challenges that a lot of companies like Spire face is dealing with the technical and the organizational complexity that comes from growth. Now, that growth could just be rapid growth in and of itself, meaning that maybe old systems are no longer up to the task, or very commonly it's through acquisitions or mergers. Now, there's no magic bullet that's going to automatically merge complex back office systems. In the case of Spire, AJ talked a little bit about 2 different systems. They had SAP and Oracle. I've seen much more drastic situations. One customer that we talked to had 9 ERPs that they had to deal with. So there's no magic wand that will automatically make these problems go away. But your customers shouldn't have to pay the price for all of that back-end complexity. To your customers, you need to represent or need to present a single, unified, and cohesive experience. I know the slide says manage the complexity. I like to think of it as kind of hide the complexity. Um, Customers don't need to know about it. And so when Spire came, they had these 2 different customer-facing sites written in different programming languages, running on different technology stacks. The first thing their users would notice would be that it felt like they were dealing with almost 2 different companies. Liferay provided them with the tools that they needed to enforce consistent branding and design across the entire experience. Modern features that Liferay provides, like style books and master page templates, make it possible for you to not only create that kind of content, but have non-technical users be able to create content that looks and feels like it belongs in your portal. The end result was providing that single unified experience for their customers. It's also important that you make sure that you have a cohesive experience once you log in, once the users are ready to log in. I think we've all probably had an experience where we've gone to maybe a company's website and there are multiple login options depending on what part of the business. Insurance, financial services are kind of notorious for this. Liferay provides you a wide range of authentication approaches, from token-based solutions to standards like OpenID, Connect, SAML, and by creating a single sign-on experience across all of these different systems, your end users only have to log in once, and then they can seamlessly move throughout the entire experience without having to log in again, or without having that jarring experience of having to re-authenticate. Now, once your users are authenticated, they need to interact with real data. In the case of Spire, we're talking about energy consumption, billing history, payment options. All of that information lived in 2 different systems, and so we had to figure out a way to kind of bring that together, create a common data model and a common service layer. To do that, Liferay provides a lot of development tools, frameworks, approaches, modern approaches that allow you to extend the platform as needed. And so with Liferay acting as this common interface, users were able to get all of the information they needed, regardless of which backend system it actually lived in. And again, by doing that, they were able to serve their 1.7 million customers across multiple states with a single cohesive experience.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. So we've highlighted great examples of what a successful customer portal launch or revamp looks like. And each of them kind of had their own unique set of challenges. You might be saying you're not sure where you need to start. You're not sure how you would evaluate yourself. I think asking yourself this question is a great initial step. Is my customer portal experience adding value, or is it acting as a roadblock? And I think if your answer to that question is the latter, then I would highly recommend completing a self-assessment to help you better evaluate what your current customer portal strategy is and see where you can actually provide value beyond the login and into your business operation side. This self-assessment will allow you to rate how strong or weak your organization's current customer portal is, and it asks questions that relate to data integration and unified experience, security and personalization, agility, and digital onboarding. So if you scan this QR code, you'll be able to go to this page, take the self-assessment, and upon completion, you can actually submit a form, talk to one of our team members, and we'll evaluate what your score means and recommend next steps on how you can improve your customer portal strategy. At the end of the day, a great customer portal strategy really hides the complexity and empowers users, and it bridges the gap between your messy backend and the customer's need for simplicity. The three organizations that we discussed aren't just proof points, but they're actually a progression showing whether your problem is consolidation, agility, or integration. The answer is going to likely be the same. Jeff, I want to thank you for joining me on today's session, and I want to thank all of you for taking time to learn more about how Liferay has helped customers and how we can help you support and enhance your existing customer portal strategy. So thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar.